What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch back here with another NFL 2020 record prediction. In this video, I'm going to dive into the LA Rams schedule for the 2020 season and let you know what I think their record will be in 2020. Sean McVay has a big task ahead of him. Can the Rams get back to where they were in 2018, or will this team take another step back in 2020? Before I do dive into the Rams schedule for 2020, make sure you do Gronk spike the like button, subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos just like this, and comment below your opinion. Let me know, Rams fans, in the comment section below what you think this team will do in 2020. You think this team's going back to the playoffs, or do you think they'll struggle once again this season? All right, let's take a look at this schedule. Starting off in week 1, they play the Dallas Cowboys in their new stadium under the bright lights of Sunday Night Football. It's always really awesome to see a new stadium for the first time on the broadcast. I think that's going to be special, but I don't think the Rams' performance will be special. I think their first game of the season will be a loss. I really like Dallas going into the season. I think their offense is just very overwhelming for a lot of defenses, including the Rams. Now, I do want to say before we get past week 1 that the Rams have a difficult schedule for the type of teams that they will have to play. Not necessarily for the opponents, but the matchups. I think the Rams are a team that are very matchup dependent, and they're a team that I see as having a very up and down year because of it. I think the Rams have lost a lot of good players this offseason, and it's going to be hard to overcome that. Even though I like a lot of their players, and I really love Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, and I really love Sean McVay, I think there are some issues with this team that's going to be hard to overcome, and we'll dive into those reasons. I think reason number 1 in week number 1 why they lose is I don't think their offense is truly what it was in the past. I think weapon-wise, losing what Todd Gurley was, not necessarily last season, but 2 seasons ago. We already saw the impact of that last year. And then losing Brandon Cooks to stretch the field and create big plays is also a loss on offense. And keeping up to a team like Dallas, that's an issue. Week 2, you play the Eagles. I think the Eagles win that game. The Eagles, at times, when they've played the Rams, even when the Rams were a good team, have dominated them. And there's a reason for this. The Rams are not good on the offensive line. The Eagles are great on the defensive line. And I think that's going to be the main thing again, especially on the road in this game versus Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham and those boys up front. It's going to be difficult for the Rams to contain that. I think this is going to be a common theme all year long. I think the Achilles heel of the Rams is their offensive line, specifically their interior offensive line, and we'll continue to get into that. The Bills, that's just a brutal first 3 weeks. You play Dallas, playoff team this year, in my opinion. You play the Eagles, playoff team last year, probably a playoff team this year. And week 3, you play the Bills, a playoff team last year, and probably the best team in the AFC East. So I have the Bills winning. Again, LA going across the country. I think when you look at Sean McDermott, he's one of the few defensive coaches that's just as good at his job as Sean McVay is at his job offensively. I think that makes for a bad matchup. Bills are one of the few teams that can cover all of the different things. And maybe, has McVay's offense gotten a little sour? That's also a question since that Super Bowl loss to Belichick. We'll have to see if he could prove himself and adjust this year. Week 4, they play the Giants. This is a good game. I think it will be well contested. I think it's interesting. I am going with LA here. I think it will be probably a shootout. I probably am just going to lean to the home team in a shootout type atmosphere. I also believe the Rams just have more defensive playmakers to win this game. Week 5, now this is the type of game I'm talking about. The Redskins in no shape or form are as good or as talented as the Rams. But when you look at the matchup, the Redskins front 7 versus the Rams offensive line, it is a brutal matchup, especially with a quarterback like Jared Goff who needs time and often gets rattled without it. He's bad under pressure. I'm going with the Redskins at home. This is one of those upset type games that I think really could hurt the Rams this year. I think the Rams are taking major steps back in early October and September. Just a rough schedule. Week 6, they play the 49ers. And I do think they actually beat the 49ers once this year. Let's say they beat them in week 6 and lose them in week 12. But either way, I think the 49ers are a tough matchup because their defensive line is so good, and that makes it hard for the Rams to move the ball with a consistent pace and a consistent motor. Overall, though, I think the Rams played them pretty well in that last matchup and could make for possibly an upset victory at some point during the season. I'm going to say they win in week 6. Week 7, they play Chicago. Chicago, just like Washington, a lot of great pass rushers, a big interior defensive line, and they do have enough offense to make some plays. I think Chicago wins. I don't think Chicago is very good, but we've seen Chicago play LA in the past, and it wasn't really exactly pretty for LA's offense. Week 8, Miami hosts the Rams. I think I have the Rams winning this game. I'm not exactly sure. I might actually have the Dolphins winning this game when I think about it. We'll have to get back to that. But I think initially I have the Dolphins winning that game. And the reason here is because Brian Flores was the defensive coordinator for the Patriots in the Super Bowl that shut down Sean McVay. And now he's the defensive guy in Miami. So we'll have to get to that, back to that. But I think the Rams beat Seattle once this year. They usually play Seattle pretty well, under Sean McVay. I think they lose to New England because of New England's ability to shut down the Rams' offense and their great secondary, and I think they can run the ball just enough. And then week 13, they play Arizona. I think Arizona beats them once. They'll beat them once. I think they lose to Tampa Bay. I think they beat the Jets. So that's 5 wins. I think I'm missing one of them. I think they beat a team that I'm not sure that I didn't have them beating. That's interesting. Maybe I'm off on my prediction here, but I do have them going 6-10. That's overall what you need to know. Overall, I have them going 6-10. I think the Rams this year are going to take another step back. I think their offensive line, like I said, Achilles heel. Defensive depth is a huge concern. Secondary outside of Jalen Ramsey is a bit of a concern. Not a huge concern, but a bit of a concern. Linebacker depth is a concern. Edge rush is a concern without Fowler. So this team has just gotten a lot worse, and they don't really have the downfield weapon. They don't really have the proven running back, although I'm a fan of Akers, and I want to see what he can do. I think the Rams probably need a nice offseason to get back together and get their roster back together. But I don't think this is the team that really will take like 3 or 4 seasons to rebuild. The difficulty is their cap space and how they're going to maneuver their cap going forward with Jared Goff's egregious contract. But to me, it doesn't take much with the Sean McVay coach team because I think he can turn around this team quickly. It's just a matter of the talent and getting that talent back and possibly hitting on a nice draft. Now, the Rams, I think they have a ceiling of 10-6. I think they have a floor of probably 4-12. But I think they're going to land somewhere between 6 and 8 wins this year. And right now, I have them with 6. So there you go. The Rams, 6-10 for 2020. Peace.